Yep.
Alright.
Yep.
Okay. One.
Well, hello everyone. This is a flight before we were locked down with COVID-19, and I've got my friend the Stig flying with me. He launched me, and he'll be taking off in a second. Now I've just cut the film there because I did a lot of circling, waiting for him to locate me and form up with me. So I've just jumped straight ahead to where he's found me and told me to start heading straight south. All normally below us is water. It's you can see the lines where the water used to come up just below those trees on the right hand side. And we're in Australia's been in drought conditions for quite a long time now, and you can tell by the amount of water that's missing. I think it's down to about 16% this dam. Anyway, my friend and I wanted to get this flight in before we're totally locked down, and this is a lovely spot to fly. It was beautiful conditions, lovely day. As you can see, very little wind. We encounter a little bit of wind further south, but nothing really to worry about. Now, I got into trouble there for a while because I was cruising along at 62 kilometres an hour at 11 amps, and I got told to back off because I was leaving him behind. There he is. You can just see him behind the aircraft. He's getting ready to pass me on the right. I told him please do it on the right because the sun was on our left. I wanted to make sure that I could see him as he went past. Now, we actually do a lot of flying together. I've actually moved my location from down near Melbourne up near the border of Victoria and New South Wales. Beautiful spot to fly. Beautiful place to live. So I hope to be able to produce a lot more videos from up here. It's got a lot calmer winds than where I used to live, and a lot better scenery. And here he goes, the Stig. He's going past. That's a Ranger 1600 with a 5 amp Turnigy battery on board. You can hear the engine revs increase as I try to catch up with him. So we've had an earlier flight today, and it was a beautiful flight, and I led most of the time, and the Stig followed me. And we decided on this second flight that I would follow him, to be fair, so he could get see some shots of his own aircraft as we're flying along. As you can tell, it's early in the morning where the sun is not that high in the sky. We've already been flying for about 30-35 minutes on the first flight. As conditions are so good, we decided we had to have another flight before we're locked down. Now I'm flying my Twin Dream with 10 amp battery, multi-star battery on board, and my batteries have not survived the Australian summer very well. Because I was moving to this new location, we had to occupy a temporary residence for about 3 months while we were waiting for settlement of this new property, and the place that we were staying at did not have a very good shed. It just had a tiny little tin shed, and we had some 45 degree days. Yes, you heard right, 45 degrees Celsius. That's well over 100 in Fahrenheit, and I'm afraid the batteries did not fare too well. It would have been over 50 in the shed, and the batteries are swollen, and also they just can't hold the voltage any longer. They still seem to be performing okay in terms of current delivered, but the voltage is really sagging badly. I know multi-star batteries tend to do that anyway with a little bit of age, and mine aren't young, but I think they've gone off a lot quicker than what they normally would have if we hadn't have put them in the hot shed during our very, very hot summer. I know a lot of you would have heard about all the bushfires in Australia over our summer of 2019-2020. We didn't have bushfires where we were, but it was very, very hot. Now you can see ahead in the picture that this is a man-made lake. You can see all the trees that used to grow before it was flooded. A lot of the trees have been cleared out. A lot of the trees have not been cleared out. And I've been here in a boat, and we actually managed to plonk ourselves right on top of a tree. Didn't do any damage to the boat, it was a flat bottom boat. But yeah, you have to be awfully careful when the water is higher and the trees are just covered. Normally it gets a little bit windy down here. You might have seen some wind lines on the water just a kilometre earlier. But today it's not too bad. As you can see, I'm sitting in behind the stick reasonably well. We do this a lot. We practice flying together quite a lot. Except on long range flights. Although we've been out 15 kilometres, I don't call that long range, but it does get a little bit tiring after a while. But I suppose what we're doing here is showing that we can do it for long durations, especially when conditions are calm. So I've got the GoPro Hero 7 as the HD camera with hyper smooth, and it's only shot at 1080p. I just find that 4K or 2.7K YouTube does not do it justice, so I don't bother. I really don't bother shooting in 4K anymore. Uses up the micro disc very quickly, so I'm happy with high definition. Now we've reached the maximum distance that the Stig wanted to go, 6 kilometres, and we're going to head back. Well, I'm just going to follow him. I'm going to do whatever he does. We're sitting about 30 feet apart because of COVID, and we're just talking to each other, saying what we're going to do next. I think it's key to let people know what you're going to do. It just gives you that pre-knowledge of when the next turn is coming, and it's very helpful. So I decided to get a little bit closer here. Now what we're going to do is, it's very hard to tell because of the wide angle lenses just how close one actually is. We flew over our heads on the earlier flight today, and we got a shock when we looked up and saw how close we were to each other. And yet, on the video, it looked a lot further away than this current shot here. So I'd hate to think just how close we are to each other. And we're going to actually, on the ground, just take a snapshot of the screen here now, and then try and line the planes up on the ground, or someone holding mine just a fraction higher, and move it until we get the planes into that position, exact position. I can preview the image on the GoPro through for the phone app, and we can position them until it's almost identical, and then we can measure how far the planes are away. I think that's the only practical way to do it, and I think we might get a shock. I think we might get a big shock. You know, all the cameras on FPV now are all fairly wide angle. I used to fly with a 3.6, I think, mil lens in the early days with the Sony cameras. Now I'm flying with a run cam, and I think that's 2.8. No, I think it's less than 2.8. 2.6 it could be. I do have a 3.3 lens, and I've been tempted to put it in, but if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. So I hadn't been doing a lot of flying during the 3 months that I was caged up in a temporary accommodation, and it's really great to get back up into the air. One of the things I love doing is flying low, especially in this area. It's a beautiful place to fly low. And I've told the Stig I'm complaining that I'm getting a bit of a nosebleed with him up so high. And I think shortly he does decide to descend, so we can enjoy the scenery just a little bit more. Now, the Ranger is a very nice plane. It's great for FPV, and it's great for this sort of flying. I don't think it's a good long distance craft, because it just can't hold the batteries. If it could hold the batteries, then it'd be fine. It does tend to get tossed around a little bit more, a lot more than the MTD, that's for sure. And I just find that sometimes with the Ranger, when it does get hits a little bit of turbulence or actually carries out a turn, it tends to slow up more than the MTD. Something I've noticed quite a lot, because we've been doing quite a lot of flying together, and I always have to be prepared just to kill the throttle. One of the great things with the MTD, if I do kill the throttle, it really slows up quickly. It's obviously being pulled along constantly by the props, and if I do back off the throttle, it does respond immediately. I don't need an air brake. And as you can see, we're dropping low here, and those trees, for a lot of people who know, they're Australian red gums, and they'll stay there for thousands and thousands of years. Now, this area is totally covered in water when the lake is full. It's amazing to think we're flying over areas where it would normally be covered with water. And in fact, with the height we're dropping down to, we might be in the water if the lake was full. But yeah, when I'm following the Ranger, here it's fine, but sometimes when it turns or there's a little bit of turbulence, I just have to back off quickly, because it tends to be affected more. And I'm not blaming the aircraft. I think it tends to be the fact that I've got more weight on board with the batteries, and I've got more inertia, mass, and that tends to keep me moving through any of the turbulence or extra drag that comes along. I suppose with the two engines, two props pulling, it tends to be more consistent in its speed. As you can see from the SD footage, we're not that high, and we're heading back towards home. We're talking about what we're going to do next, and I'm starting to get a bit worried, because my antennas are all pointing south, and the Stig wants to go north, and I'm saying, well, I'm going to have to peel off. I can't go with you because I'm going to lose video. And I don't want to get up and adjust the antennas while I'm following. That's a good way to smash our aircraft. So I've just headed off and I'm going to go and adjust the antennas to point in the new direction we're going to head. And I'm just cut now to a few minutes ahead where we join back up again. There we go. One of the hardest things we found was this passing manoeuvre. Following's one thing, but passing is another thing entirely. And the person who's passing has to take it that the person behind them can see them. And we always said after passing, just back off the throttle a little bit and don't climb, just drop the nose if anything. And that helps the person behind. But I always have to apply throttle to catch up, and I've told the stick, give me a few minutes just to actually lock in. Don't do any sudden manoeuvres left or right. Now the flight that we had earlier today, we flew in this direction and a little bit more to the 2 o'clock position, and we flew really low. We were skimming the treetops, as the stick said. I was grabbing koalas out of the trees. It was very low, but it's a lovely spot. When it's so calm, it's just so wonderful just to fly so low over the trees. We've been talking and we've decided to head off to this mountain, hill, pimple. It's a lovely little hill. It just comes almost like a mini volcano just straight out of the ground. It's not a volcano that not that I know, but it's quite unique in that it just comes up very sharply. And we're just going to head off to that. We've had to climb a little bit. You can see my shadow as the sun is behind me on the Stig's plane. So we've had to climb because we need to get to 120 metres for this hill. And the Stig is saying to me he's a bit worried that there's going to be a little bit of a rotor. There's just not enough wind to be a rotor, in my opinion, but I'm expecting a thermal to be somewhere around this hill. There's usually thermals when the sun's out, and I think we encounter one any moment now. There you go. As you can see, the Ranger gets tossed around a bit. I did get tossed around just a little, but not so much. Now, unfortunately, I'm not panning left or right. I love to pan, but not when I'm following. I don't have enough fingers. And my fingers aren't long enough to adjust the throttle and turn the pot to swing the pan around. So when I'm following, rarely do I pan. So we're going to descend now. And this is another hard part with following with aircraft of different types. You go to descend and one aircraft will descend quicker and faster than the other. So you have to back off the throttle and then you start to lose height at a different rate than the other aircraft. And it takes a little bit of practice. I'm not saying I've got it right. Climbing and descending can bring in some extra challenges, but we managed to do okay here. As you can see, the Stig's got a run cam on the front. He's got a pan as well. He's panning while he's doing this flight. When I first got the pan on my aircraft, he actually put it on for me because he's very good at making things and building things, whereas I'm not. We went flying at the same location, and one of the farmers came along, and we're flying, and three of us were there at the time. Have you guys seen any cows? We laughed at that, but apparently a farmer had lost a cow or a couple of cows, and we said, oh, well, we'll go, we haven't, but we'll go and look. So we flew all over the place looking for this cow, and we couldn't find it. It ended up being a little bit further south than what we had flown down to. He said it wouldn't be that far south, but so we turned back, but we would have found it if we had have gone on. But I remember I was looking around, and the Stig is looking at my video feed and telling me, now turn right, pan right, pan left, now turn right, turn left, and oh boy, he was giving me a workout on the pan, and it was the first time I was sort of using the pan. It was really giving me a trial by fire, but anyway, it was all good experience. Now I'm just following the Stig in here as he's coming into land, and I have to pull out because those trees were going to become a problem. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I decided to do a narration because it's a little bit long and boring. Normally I don't do this for my public videos, but I've decided this time to do it. I put the video up because I thought, look, a lot of us are going to be locked in, not able to watch FPV or not able to do FPV. So I thought this might help for those people who are all locked in, unable to go out as we are. And yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this, and if you've got any comments, please comment. Do not subscribe. I'm one of these people, I don't want people to subscribe, but I'd love for you to comment, negative or positive, please. It's all good. There's a lot of people making a lot of money out of FPV on YouTube these days. I'm not one of them. I just love this hobby, and love to help people out if I can, and love to learn if I can. There's always something to do. So please feel free to comment. Now I always try and land nice and close to myself here because it's a very easy approach. Today I didn't put it at my toes, but it's reasonably close. There's the Stig getting out the road. Thanks for watching.
Missed it by that much.
Jeez, I just went a bit too far, didn't I?